Fine. See the 25th question. Environmental degradation has acted as a catalyst in increasing these variety of disaster events. Illustrate. Also suggest measures to their mitigation. So basically it is talking about environmental degradation and the climate change. Okay, just see the question and give the framework. Yeah, good. Everyone has given framework in a proper way. So environmental degradation has acted as a catalyst in increasing the variety of the disaster events. Illustrate. Illustrate means you have to give by examples. You have to give examples whenever the tag illustrate is coming. This is a very important tag. Illustrate means you have to demonstrate with examples. Suggest measures for their mitigation. So I think it's a fairly easy question. Let me be very honest. Almost everyone will be able to attempt it. And my mantra for this particular question has always been, wherever the questions are easy, try to focus on the presentation. So what many people do is when they miss this term called illustrate, they simply give the reasons for environmental degradation. So of course you will get marks, but when you give examples for these kind of questions or case studies because of for these kind of questions, you will have more marks. And the measure should be very proactive, very implementable, and if possible, whatever the government has already taken, you have to mention those measures. The moment you are trying to think in this way, your maximization towards the marks will increase. Otherwise, you will write a very normal answer and come out thinking that you have done really well, but you will be getting only 2 or 3 marks because you, as far as the examiner is concerned, your answer will be below average. Okay, so now come here. First tell me, the environmental degradation has acted as a catalyst in increasing the variety of disaster events. Illustrate. So what is the first part? You have to give the environmental degradation as the reason for disaster and events, and you have to give examples. So what are the various examples you can think of? First, you can start off with the Uttarakhand example, where extensive construction of dams has actually not allowed the free flow of the water into its natural basin, and thereby when there was a cloud burst, the particular area could not take so much of water, and finally it got very severe. The first example you can give is the Uttarakhand example. Then what you can give? You can talk about the urban floods. Urban floods are a very classic example of environmental degradation. Why? You are blocking the natural drainage system for the reservoirs. Take for the example of Hyderabad, Usman Sagar and Himmat Sagar. The area is extremely developed now. The natural drainage system towards these two reservoirs is now choked, and as a result, the adjacent colonies are now in the flood situation for even smallest of rains. And the same is the case with Chennai and Mumbai, urban floods. Then what is the thing? Droughts. Droughts, you can again say growing very water consuming crops like sugarcane and cereal crops in drought and the dry areas like Vidarbha and Marathwada regions of Maharashtra. Instead of growing millets, they are growing sugarcane, obviously because of the commercial reasons, and hence this is a man-made environmental degradation causing the drought. And then how all these events are resulting in climate change? Because we are the ones who are going to clear the forest, the deforestation in the name of projects, bypassing the agencies like National Green Tribunal and going on constructing dams and irrigation projects by clearing the forest, thereby resulting in less rainfall, less precipitation, high temperatures, and abnormal climatic events, which is called as climate change. What are the other disasters like earthquake, going and constructing very huge monuments or buildings in seismic activity impacted zones. So this is causing damage to the system and thereby resulting in the earthquakes. So flash floods, Uttarakhand example, you can give the example of urban floods, Hyderabad, earthquakes, seismic zones, okay, and then landslides by extensively occupying the, the natural hills in the name of tourism. You can give the example of Himachal or the northeast region where the rat mining is done in Meghalaya. So this is what the examiner is expecting when he says illustrate. Now come to the measures for their mitigation. What are the measures for the mitigation? Obviously, what are the issues we are creating? Counter action is the measures. One is afforestation, improving the forest cover of India to at least 33%, trying to address the degradation of land, promoting cultivation of millets in the dry land, growing crops like jatropha or jojoba in dryland areas, which can have commercial value to the farmers. And then having strict implementation of the judgments of agencies like NGT, National Green Tribunal, balancing by constructing natural dams or check dams instead of huge multi-purpose dams. Not disturbing the ecologically fragile areas or ecologically sensitive zones. Implementation of Kasturi Rangan Committee report with regard to the Western Ghats. Not allowing the blocking of natural drainage for the reservoirs in the urban areas and thereby removing the illegal constructions in the catchment areas. Promoting ecological tourism, banning plastics in the tourist places. All these measures go a long way in promoting the environmental friendly attitude of the man and thereby addressing the devil of climate change and also reducing the impact of disasters. And the sustainable development goal you can mention and inform the examiner that the sustainable development is the way forward and we should all thrive to get the sustainable development get going. So that will be your model answer. Clear?
Excuse me, sir.
Whose question I have not done in the last thing?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in this type of generalized questions, how many points we should write for example, measures for mitigation? If we think of, we'll get so many, but how many are sufficient?
See, it depends on the marks given for the question. Okay. Who is it speaking? Prasad?
Yes, sir, Prasad.
Okay. So it depends on the marks, firstly. If it's a 10 marker, okay. So, and then you see that this particular, where is this? Yeah. This particular question, it's having two parts. One is the illustrate, one is the measures, right? So if it's a 10 marker question, you can give 5 points there and 5 points here. Generally, these kind of questions will be asked for 10 markers only because there is not much, means there is no significant analytical thing required here. Even if it is coming for 250 words or the 15 marks, then the number of points will increase. Okay, and the measures, you can give some government schemes or the government measures like NGT, the pollution control boards. Okay, you can say that they have to be active and they have to be given certain powers. So you'll just expand the scope of the answer. Here maybe 5 points for each will be doing, and then a proper way forward and a very positive oriented way forward. Okay, Prasad.
Okay, sir. Clear. Thank you.
Yeah, good. You are also given certain, yeah, zoonotic diseases also you can definitely write. It's a most trending thing. Yes. Implementation. Anil agreed. Strict implementation of EIA, environmental impact assessment, before sanctioning any project. Right. So coming here, whose answer sheet I have to evaluate? In last class, whose answers I have not evaluated? I think Prasad is done, Rajni is done. Today who has written? Renuka, you have written. Slightly, this is a 150 word question. So the introduction is slightly stretched. You can straight away come to the core demand of the question, Renuka. One words, never preferred or never okay. All these you have to write and expand more. Okay, though it's a 150 word question, here the examiner is expecting, as I told you, illustrate. You please see, you have even underlined this part, illustrate. Then where are the examples? Renuka, you are in the class?
No, sir.
You've not given the examples. For all these, you have to give examples. And then measures taken. Measures to be taken. Hazard mapping, floodplain mapping, reinforcement of tornadoes. Do we have tornadoes in India? Is it in India or generic question? Okay, it seems like a generic question, but then since you are mentioning about Indian things. Okay, the points are relevant, Renuka, but something much more is required for these questions, especially the details of with regard to your answers are wanted. Your points should come in much more detailed way. Okay, and then wherever possible give examples, because that is what the examiner is asking you. Clear, ma? I think Renuka is not in the class. Okay, fine. Anyhow, so that was about our answer.